Diddy is trying to get a mistrial. I just hopped my nosy backside in the court documents and I saw that Diddy's trying to get a mistrial for prosecutorial misconduct. It says, "Dear Judge Subramanian, the defense respectfully submits this letter in support of its renewed motion for a mistrial based on prosecutorial misconduct when the introduction of perjured testimony results in a criminal conviction and the prosecution knew or should have known of the perjury. The conviction must be set aside if there is any reasonable likelihood that the false testimony could have affected the judgment of the jury. Moreover, the prosecutor's knowing use of the perjured testimony can violate the due process clause even if it only undermines a witness's credibility. As the Supreme Court has explained, a lie is a lie no matter what its subject, and if it is in any way relevant to the case, the district attorney has the responsibility and duty to correct what he knows to be false and to elicit the truth." The defense is saying that the government knowingly submitted testimony that they knew was false. And the testimony that they're saying is false is that Diddy dangled Brianna Bongolan over that balcony on September 2016. They're saying to avoid an unfair conviction, the court should grant a mistrial. Now, the letter to this judge is 6 pages in length. The defense is going in saying that the prosecution used this because they wanted to show that Diddy was a feared man and he was a monster and he was going around terrorizing Cassie and her friends. The prosecutors elicited evidence about this allegation from both Ms. Ventura and Ms. Bongolan that is demonstrably false in key respects. Then they doubled down using this false testimony to obtain a ruling admitting inadmissible hearsay evidence about it as well, or to present a false narrative to the jury. So they're also trying to say that Cassie's testimony about the balcony incident isn't true. Ms. Ventura says she actually saw Mr. Combs holding Ms. Bongolan over the balcony railings. "I saw him bring her back over the railing of the balcony and then throw her onto the patio furniture." Yet the prosecutors knew she had not actually seen what she described because they had in their possession a text conversation demonstrating that Ms. Ventura was told about the alleged incident by another unidentified person. "Hey, I just found out some crazy-ish. I'm just finding out right now." Nonetheless, they allow Ms. Ventura to continue to insist on cross she had witnessed this incident. So they reference her cross-examination and they said, "Question, and you testified that you saw him throw her onto the patio furniture, right?" She answered, "Yep. He brought her back over the balcony and he threw her down." She persisted in this story even after she was confronted by the text messages. They asked her another question on cross. "Isn't it true that you learned about the incident on the balcony after the fact?" To which she answered, "I saw what I saw, so I don't know." They asked her another question. "Has the government, in your preparation for your testimony in this case, gone over this message with you?" She answered, "Not this one, no." Thus, the government left the jury with the false impression that Miss Ventura saw Mr. Combs dangle her friend over the balcony and that this made her fearful of him, when in fact, if there was any incident, Ventura merely heard about it afterwards, considerably lessening any probative value as to her state of mind. Next, the government doubled down by presenting perjured testimony from Bongolan intended to corroborate Ventura's false testimony. Bongolan claimed Combs lifted her up and held her feet on the balcony railing, and that this caused injuries to the back of my leg and back and neck pain. Bongolan was very definitive about these injuries, and particularly the bruise to her leg, which was one of the details that stick out in her mind. As the government also knows, like other witnesses in this case, Ventura and Bongolan have been in frequent contact at key points and have had many opportunities to collaborate on their stories. And in fact, Bongolan admitted the two friends discussed this incident before and after Ventura filed her lawsuit. Bongolan also has an enormous financial motive to lie because she filed a $10 million lawsuit against Mr. Combs based on the same allegation and will benefit by exaggerating the scope of her injuries to obtain damages. Her account makes no sense and seems to be physically impossible. Mr. Combs is only about 6 feet tall, and even if he is bigger than her, he is not tall enough to have been able to hold a shorter adult by her armpits so high that her feet would have been on the balcony railing, as Bongolan testified. And I'm just going to finish it off right here with the defense saying the government knew or should have known this testimony was perjured and that Miss Bongolan could not possibly have been injured by Mr. Combs on a Los Angeles balcony in the early morning hours of September 26th or even the day before that. The government has long known that Mr. Combs was on the East Coast in late September and specifically at around the time of this alleged incident. The government knew that he had stayed at Trump Hotel in New York City between September 24th to the 29th of 2016. In fact, the government had marked his records of this hotel stay, which are now in evidence, and it has had other evidence in its possession for some time showing Mr. Combs' travel schedule and providing that he was on the East Coast when it told the jury he dangled Miss Bongolan over a balcony in front of Miss Ventura. Now, depending on what the judge decides to rule, we may have a problem. Could Miss Bongolan have messed up the dates? I think it's possible, but they're saying that they have receipts showing that he wasn't even in California. He was over here on the East Coast, not in California. So what do y'all think? Do y'all think that based off of what the defense is accusing the prosecution of, do you think that the judge will allow a mistrial? Drop your thoughts in the comments.